Welcome back to OliTober about this Olivetti L1 M20. It boots. Let's try it again, right? It boots. So, in episode 3, we put in the power supply, the keyboard, the memory, and we turned it on. And it was actually working when I turned it on. Then I moved the computer. And then it didn't turn on until I reset the computer. So that was weird, right? And I had to investigate because I want this up and running. What I did, I took out all the chips that I previously had been taken out because I was cleaning the board and looking at all the connections. Then I just reseated all the chips and it's working. So there was somewhere a connection that didn't connect correctly. Some of the sockets on this board are, sorry Olivetti, but really crappy sockets. I'm not taking out the chips, so I'm not going to show it to you. But trust me, some of them is like, what were you thinking? But nevertheless, it's working. So I can now say, welcome to episode 4 of this OliTober about this computer. So this time we need to focus on the 2 floppy disk drives over here. So I will disassemble these and we'll clean them, have a look at the size of it, and then we'll put that into the computer. I will also in this episode take the keyboard out and clean it. And this keyboard, we kind of like have seen this one a little bit before. So there's a story behind this one also. So let me arrange the camera. Let me move you closer to the floppy disk drive. Let's disassemble it and take it from there. So let's try and disassemble the drives. Just looking at it right here, it is very clean. I don't see any dirt or anything that's kind of like alerting. So I must say this computer has been kept in a good environment where it doesn't get filthy. So let's just try to take the controller board off, which is the top of the board. And we have a few cables over here. The reason why I want to do this is because I want to get into the head of the drive and see whether or not we need to clean it. But here we have the driver board, very nice, absolutely nothing. What does this one say? This is saying 702849M. AT, I think it's a 1 on I, 09, 0283. And if we look at the drive itself, there is absolutely more or less nothing to clean. Let me just lift up the lid here, which lifts up the head here. I have been reading up on the machine itself and specifically about the drives. So it seems that the computer came in a few different configurations, and the first model came with one drive, which was a 320 unformatted drive. There's a little bit of a strange thing with this drive, well actually with the board, because even though it reads disk drives. Track 0 is specific just for this machine, so you cannot take a formatted disk drive on a DOS and use it over here or vice versa when it comes to drive 0, because this is the boot sector for this and it's specifically laid out in a specific way from this computer. But nevertheless, it seems very clean, and I think just need to put some IPA on the two heads. It's a double-sided, this one I can see. So as I said, this came in a 320 for one unit, and in the units that we have here are with 2 drives, so they also have to always be the same. So you cannot mix and match, because you had like 3 different types of drives that you could have. You could have had the 160, the 320, which we have here, and then you could also have had an additional 640. So again, it has to be in pairs. These are 320, I can see from the signs. And if we have a little bit of a look behind, I just want to show you the model number. So this is Olivetti's own drive. So OPE is Olivetti's peripherals, and it's called XU4301. And there's a serial number on this one, 992699268. If we briefly just have a look at the other one. This one is upside down, like this. It's still the same drive, so it's the XU4301, but this one serial number is 926925591. Okay, so we now know there are 3 drive sizes that you can have, and on the back, the thing that I really am concerned about is the driver belt. As you can see, it peeks in here. So let's just get this one off also, so we can get a closer look. And here we have the inner of the drive. So it is a driver belt. It's very firm. There's nothing wrong with this belt. And it runs smoothly, so there's no concern at all. So the only thing I just want to do is, as you can see down here, which is for moving this part forward and backwards, there's a little bit of grease down there. I'll take a cotton and some IPA and I'll remove the grease that's down there. This comes from the grease that originally was on this mechanism, moving the head forward and backwards, and I will put some grease on it also on this area over here. As I said, no reason to do anything with this. Then I shall put some IPA on both heads, on the top and the bottom head. I will also put a tiny bit of oil to lubricate both of the motors, so in there and over here, but it's like super tiny, not much. And once that's done, I shall clean the parts, but they're probably just dusty, yeah. So I'll clean that, move everything back on the stand and put it into the computer. Just one comment, this is the cable. And as you can see, there's no twist on it. So the drives needs to have a cable select mechanism and a terminator. And this is the drive, this is actually drive 1. This one over here is drive 0. So drive 1, which is the one at the end of the actual drive, needs to have a terminator on for the cable, so the computer knows which drive is what, and that sits up here. Sadly, I don't have any documentation specifically for the drives, so I don't know how the jumper settings are working, but it is what it is. And if any of you have any documentation on these drives, that would be helpful so we can figure out the jumper settings. The board itself is also an Olivetti made board. Olivetti OPE made in Italy. And what do we have over here? U4300. So that kind of like corresponds with UX4301 here. But let me do my thing, and then let's put it back into the computer. Whilst the keycaps, they are soaking, I want to continue with the keyboard. And as you may noticed, this one broke. I will show you why. The keycaps to the key stand, which is this one, let me find, which is this item, that was glued together. So this keyboard has been broken before. Somebody has tried to repair it. So that's why this went out. There's a, I hope you can see it. There is a spring and a tiny piece of plastic. This plastic goes down there in the middle, in the center, and on top of that sits the spring, like this. And then the key, it presses down on the spring, which then presses down on the white bits, the small part, into the PPC and makes the connection. So that was that one. Then I also, whilst I was just blowing some air to it to get rid of some of the bus bunnies, this came off, and that's from this area. So we have this issue and we have that issue. That issue, I can take all these out, and then I can glue this together with this part. Let me just take it out shortly for you to see. So it's the clip on each sides, which then lifts out. So this leg comes off where you have the spring. And this piece has to be glued together with this piece in there. So super glue should fix this issue. Okay, so if we look on the other side, I can see that we have some foam here that is disintegrating, which then, and it's also on the other side. So I will have to unscrew the back of the motherboards. Sorry, keyboard obviously. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11 screws. This bolt and this bolt. The weirdest part with this keyboard is, so you see there's a marking telling you where the screws are. There's a marking without a screw, there's a marking without a screw, and there's a marking without a screw. Either they decide it's not needed, or the person who may have been into this keyboard forgot to screw in these. So let me unscrew all of this, and then we'll lift it out and we'll have a look inside and see how much we need to clean in there. So as you can see, there's foam on the board here and here. This is for the space bar. There's also something up here. And here we have the back of the keyboard, and this is the foam. Obviously the foam is there to prevent any dust coming into the PCB, sorry, into this area from the keys. So I will figure out a way to make a sealing like this with some foam or something else I have. This now gives us access to the actual key stamps that can be taken out, and here we have the complete key stamp. And let's have a sound. Very nice. There's nothing I need to do with these. These are very simple. Sorry, there you go. Once you press, it just makes the connection with this specific. Let me see if I can find it. There we go. It's in focus now. So this area there, that connects to the PCB. So it makes a connection on all of these dots together with the other side, which is this one. I need to put the PCB down and show you. So it's all about this one and this one, making the connection. Let me clean all this and then come back once I have assembled the keyboard again. And then we'll have a talk about the keyboard. I'm left with 2 keys and then the keyboard is completely assembled. There are a reason why I'm putting in these at last, because I want to focus on this. But before that, I just want to show you slowly that it's all clean, all nice. And I have even located some screws, so we have populated the board with all screws that were missing. I have also put in some silicone foam that prevents dust coming into the PCB, sorry. So the reason why I waited and focusing on command and control is because I realized while cleaning the keyboard that I have seen this keyboard before. Well, some of it. This key, S2 and S1. They are special keys and I have seen them on the Olivetti keyboards and specifically on the Olivetti keyboard 2. So as you can see, there's the limit. They're the same. So this one is there. This one is there. S2 stands down there and S1 stands there. So this is the same. So these 2 keyboards are somehow connected together. And the reason why this is like this is because of the L1 M20 and the M24 and M24 SP. They are actually compatible with each other. That said, let me explain. So the computer we're looking at, the L1 M20, is a Zilog 8001. And obviously the Olivetti M24, that's an Intel CPU, an 8086. So no, they're not compatible. But yes, they are. Because on the M20, you could have a Intel board that could be expanded into the actual computer, which is one of the 2 green boards in the back. And let me just briefly take the computer slowly in here. So in the back of the computer, in here, one of these 2 expansion slots, they are for this board, which then will turn the M20 into a PC-ish. So it will be able to run Microsoft DOS 2.11, I think it was, or maybe even earlier only. So the same went for the Olivetti M24. In that computer, you could have a specific 16-bit board set into the M24, which then will emulate the M20 within that computer. And this is why this keyboard on a PC has these command keys up here and these S2 and S1 keys up there, because they are interchangeable with each other. Enough said of the keyboards. The floppy disk drives are in, and we are only missing this keyboard into the computer. And then we shall close it down and have a look at the whole computer itself. It's all together again. The disk drives and the keyboard is back in. And as you can see, it's still running. So that's a thumbs up. We need to figure out whether or not the floppy disk drives, they're working. It came with 2 disks. I have no clue what's on it. Does it even work? Is there any faults on the disks or the disk drives? So I will close this lid. And the bootstrap loader tells me that I can just press enter. And then eventually, I'm hoping something pops up. This should be some sort of a program. This is not a boot disk, so I'm assuming it's not booting into the operating system, the PCOS as such, but let's see. And after a while, something pops up. So there is a program on the disk. It's all in German. And it must have something to do with this system that's on the 2 disks. No idea what it is. But right now it asks me to enter the dates and the time. So we can try that. I know you can't see it. And then the menu item pops up, all in German. I'm not that good at German, but this says Programmwahl. And that's, sorry for my German, that means that these are programs you can select from. Again, no idea what it is, but the floppy disk drives and the floppy disk, at least this one, is working. This has been gone for a little bit more than 20 minutes, so this is yet again where I will pause the video and wrap this up for episode 4. In episode 5, I kind of want to talk a little bit about everything that I experienced during working with this, all the information that I have gained and looked on internet to get any more information on it. There's not much, but there's one specific homepage that is really awesome, and more on that on the next episode, episode 5. So for now, I just want to say thank you very much for staying on this episode 4 for OliTober on this Olivetti L1 M20. I hope you liked it. Give me a thumbs up or that one. Please remember to subscribe and ring the bell. Thank you for now. My name is Tybo, and goodbye.